down, but and then everybody else, let's give a huge, huge clap.
Whatever. Okay. According to the National Association for Anorexia Nervosa, quote, eating disorders have the highest mortality rate of any mental illness for women ages 15 to 24, and the highest rate by 12%, or 12 times fold, than any other cause of death. And so, eating disorders are just one of the inequalities or inequities that can arise from poor body image, which can be caused by advertisers photoshopping women's bodies. Millions of women are being affected by these inequities, including my own sister. And that's why I think it's really important that something has to change. I'm here to persuade you all that photoshopping women's bodies should not be allowed in advertising. And first I'll describe to you the problems that happen when we do this. Then I'll describe to you why they feel it's necessary to do this. And lastly, I will talk about some solutions that may mitigate this problem. Okay, first let's talk about the problems that arise from body modification in advertising. The first of which is the development of depression. If women fall short of the body standard created by media's photoshopped advertisements, they begin to believe that it's their own fault, that they're not as attractive or pretty as skinny as the photoshopped models, which can lead to self-doubt, self-blame, and depression. Depression is a serious illness or mental illness that can create many inequities that can make your life or make you lead a life that is much poorer in quality. According to the WebMD article, depression can take a serious toll on your mental and physical health by affecting both your sleep patterns, your behavior, and also your eating patterns. But the most severe side effect also can be suicide. The second problem that body modification through Photoshop can have the potential to do is induce eating disorders in women. According to a study conducted by a health clinic for eating disorders, girls such as the young age of 9 start purging because they want to look like the models or the Photoshop models that they see on TV and in magazines at age 9. People with eating disorders have inherent inequities, making life way harder to manage. Imagine if you had an eating disorder. You never looked forward to any meal, and eating meals was the hardest part of your day. You have to eat to survive, so you're living in a living nightmare, a living hell. And that is a reality for many women in the United States. It is in the movie To the Bone, directed by Marty Noxon, a former anorexia patient. She depicts the wide range of inequities that can come from eating disorders. These can include from struggling to eat at the dinner table, from having a miscarriage because you can't feed your own baby and your own self, so you can't take care of it. And lastly, the worst case scenario, the path of no return, death. So it is inequities such as these that Photoshop has a big role in producing due to the creation of an unrealistic body standard that women attempt to attain, but can't physically do it in a healthy manner. Now to describe some problems that can arise from photoshopping women's bodies in advertising, I would like to go into why advertisers think they can even do this in the first place, why they think they need to. So, so first off, advertisers might think it's okay to Photoshop an advertisement because if they put a label in the bottom right corner saying it's been photoshopped, and that means it's out of sight, out of mind. They know it, so no one will be affected by this image. But in fact, that is not the case. Studies have proven that labels can actually not be effective whatsoever. In an experiment conducted by Marika Tigerman, a researcher at Flinders University, it was revealed that even with Photoshop disclaimers such as these, women still felt inequities such as poor body image. So, this one sticker is supposed to make you magically feel better about yourself. This one sticker is supposed to put the bandage on all the inequities that can come from photoshopping women's bodies. Newsflash, putting a label in the bottom right-hand corner of an advertisement doesn't fix anything. Okay, So the second reason why advertisers use Photoshop is because they want to create a correlation between thinness and their clothing brand. So why would they do this? According to an academic journal written by Mandy McCarthy, more and more women feel that it's necessary to become thinner, or because of all the advertisements that are exposed to them with thin models in it. So they feel pressure to become thinner. In wanting to become thin, consumers are played by the advertisers who use this idea of a thin ideal by photoshopping women's bodies to correlate body thinness with their clothing brand, tricking you into buying their stuff. So, for example, advertisers might say, oh, if you buy our clothing, you'll look as skinny in this clothing as that model does, who is photoshopped. And they do this because they want to make more money. They want you to buy their product. But the converse relation has also been observed. According to Business Insider, American Eagle saw a 9% jump in revenue once they got rid of their photoshopped images of models in their catalogs. A 9% jump. So, to make the generalization that Photoshop makes consumers want to buy a product is just simply not true. Now that I've discussed the idea that Photoshop doesn't really need to be used in the advertising industry, I'd like to discuss the one true solution to this problem, which I believe in my eyes is that Photoshop should be banned from advertisements when it's relating to women's bodies. You can use it in the background, you can use it on the clothing, but on women's bodies it should not be allowed. Many European countries have done this strategy, and including France and the UK, and they're heading in the right direction. But what can you all do about it? So, as a college student, one way you can do this is by boycotting any advertisements or any magazines that display images of women that are photoshopped. And by boycotting it, you will not buy their products, and they will lose revenue. They want revenue. They are companies, so they will change their ideas to fit what you want. So if you want to buy magazines or advertisements with real women on them, they will change it to that because they want to make revenue. Another idea is to maybe write a letter to your local congressmen or women asking to say you could create a law that could ban Photoshop. It is a slight chance, but once you get a lot of movement behind your ideas, anything can be possible. Lastly, this could go hand in hand with the first one, is you can make a petition and try to get people to sign it. So, for example, Julia Blum, a 15-year-old girl, started a petition that received over 86,000 signatures, encouraging 17 Magazine to stop using Photoshopped women on their covers. So if a 15-year-old can do this, imagine what an entire class could do, the college students. So in conclusion, I've described the problems that arise from Photoshop, and then I've discussed why they feel they need to even use Photoshop. And lastly, I've given you all tools and ideas of how we can all together maybe mitigate this issue. I hope you see how important it is that companies are banned from using photoshopping women's bodies in advertising, because millions of women are being affected by these inequities caused by Photoshopped advertisements.